The current direction of World of Warcraft is not sustainable in the long term. And when I mean long term, I mean long term. So 10 years. We can't keep doing the same stories that we're doing. If you think about it, in Classic, we dealt with some of the demons, some of the old god stuff, mostly Horde versus Alliance. Then we went to TBC. This is where we dealt very much with the demons. There are a little bit, like some questionable stuff, but mostly demons. In Wrath of the Lich King, we dealt with the realms of death, also a little bit demon, a little bit old god, but mostly realms of death.
Unfortunately, at the time, we thought that we were just fighting the Legion. But I think that going back through stuff, it seems pretty apparent that the Legion was always slightly separate from the Scourge. Even Warcraft 3 suggests that. So people, look, I don't mean to be a dick, but I think people weren't picking up on that. I'm just going to say it. Like, with what we were told about it, I think that people just kind of blindly believed that the Scourge was just working with the Legion at all times. That's not correct. That's like literally not true. Like what KT does and the actions that lead to Arthas taking the mantle of the Lich King, that, I don't know, man. I feel like through that in and I still have to play the Frozen Throne, but I feel like it was pretty clear that the Scourge was like a separate thing being utilized by the Burning Legion, and maybe not realizing that they themselves were being manipulated by the Scourge. Probably similar to what happened with Sargeras, right? So, the Legion versus a Legion, right. What's up, Sixten?
We have Cataclysm, where we deal with the Titans, the Titan threat, the Old God threat, and some demonic crossover, but not too much. Mist of Pandaria, we deal almost exclusively with the old gods and the titans, because wherever there's old gods, there's going to be titans close behind. At least with the Cluxy, there's some heavy conversations about the old about the titans. And then we go to Warlords of Draenor. Now we're dealing again with the demons, again with the fallout of the demons. Then we get into Legion, and demons again. The fallout of the demons. More problems with the demons. Then we finish the demon problem in Legion. We have taken care of the demon problem in Legion. No more problems with the demons now. Then Battle for Azeroth comes, and we finally take care of the old god problem. Then we go into Shadowlands, and we deal and finish the events of death. We have now removed the problem of death on our world. In Dragonflight, we dealt with the Titans. And yes, we have Iridikron, but Iridikron is setting us up for a final battle against the Void. And with it being a saga, it looks like Blizzard is getting ready
against the Void. No, he's preparing us to fight the Titans.
To wrap up the stories of the Titans, the stories of the old gods, or the Void Lords, and perhaps
we yoink the last bars
some
of it
of
from
the
Halls.
Stories of life. This now means that after the World Soul Saga, where do we go next?
Well, I think this is all largely assumptive, right? Like there's a lot of assumption here, I feel, because we're assuming that we just finish and resolve all of that, and that's just the end of it. Like, did we potentially consider the possibility that with the resolution of the grand cycle that maybe someone escapes, or there's a big reveal that we weren't expecting, and like I think that at the end of the day, we're sitting upon a massive source of creation and destruction, and that in and of itself might lead to the birth of an entirely new universe or recreation of certain things, right? There's so much opportunity. But I think that when you go at it with the mindset of like, oh, we're just going to fight the enemy and then it's going to be over. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's like the most basic way to like, to like put it. I mean, yeah, of course, if that's what happens, then there's, what are we going to do next? But it's like, this is all based on the assumption that that's all that happens. That we fight the enemy and then we defeat them and then that's it. It's like, well, there's probably more to that. than that.
And at what point does it start to feel like a soap opera? Like, at what point have we rehashed the cosmic enemies so much that the player base no longer really gives a shit?
Yeah, that is.
Oh, it's another
yep.
demon invasion. Cool.
That is.
Oh,
a
the
possibility.
Titans are coming. Cool. Oh, it's the old gods again. Cool. Right. At what point do we reach? When do we reach that point? Do you guys think? Dominus, yes, you're absolutely correct. There's still plenty of places we can go. Avalorem being one of them and all the rest of them. But we're always going to need enemies. So at what point are the bog standard cosmological forces enemies just played out and boring? Like, at what point do we get, oh, this is fucking boring? I hit that when Shadowlands rewrote so much of the Lich King's lore. New gen of villains look like. Eternal Knight, how you doing, bro? We didn't fix death. We showed what it looks like now after it was missing broken. Well, we did fix it. We removed the faulty element of it, at least according to Steve Denuser. There's a lot of cosmic left to explore. Light as a whole story waiting.
I'd like to know what he's referring to there. Remove the faulty aspect of it, according to Steve Denuser. Because that suggests that maybe I'm misunderstanding that there's an inherent and intentional divine flaw that we showed up and remedied. Maybe each system has something built within it that shouldn't be there. Maybe for the Titans, it's an Organon. For the Eternal ones, it was Zoval or the Primus. Could be Sargeras, I guess, too, right? As the faulty, the broken one, so to speak.
You're suggesting that the Light story doesn't end in the World Soul Saga. I will remind you of the Arathians that is currently playing a massive part. I'll remind you that the next expansion is called Midnight. If you think you're going to have Midnight as an expansion and the Light is just not going to be around, I don't necessarily agree with that. And then you have the Lost Titan. So your suggestion would be that none of those forces are going to be dealt with in the next 3 expansions, and there's going to be more forces left. I still come back to my original question. At what point have you rehashed enemies from the cosmic forces to the point where the player base no longer really cares about the cosmic forces?
I'm not saying you're saying that.
Even if you do introduce new faction war, the times where the faction war has been the most fun to explore has always been when the faction war isn't the only thing going on. Right? You think DBC, you even think Classic, you think Wrath even. It's always fun when, yes, there is a faction war, but the faction war is sort of happening alongside a bunch of other shit happening. And part of the difficulty of this other shit happening is trying to balance the factions wanting to fucking destroy each other and also having this huge threat that has to be taken care of.
Well, oftentimes the faction imbalance and fighting is what leads to that huge threat. Like, I don't think people really register this, but we fucked Pandaria up. We fucked Pandaria up, dude. To the point where the Klaxi turned against their own empress because her being driven mad by the Shaw of Hatred was making her just throw the Klaxi at their enemies, and it was decimating their forces. Like, the Paragons of the Klaxi literally got together and said, like, this is not cool. Like, she's going to get us all killed. Grand Empress Shexir is going to get all of us killed. She is going to destroy the entire empire if we don't do something about it. I thought that was fascinating because it was like, wait a second. The Klaxi who worshipped Yasharaj turned against their own queen because they recognized that the fragmented manifest hatred from Xiaohao corrupted by Yasharaj was actually fucking their queen over and decided to overthrow her as a result. Whoa. Like, that I thought was I'm like, whoa. Like, the Klaxi are fucking smart. And not only are they smart, they recognize the need for balance. I thought that was kind of amazing. I was like, damn, like they have ideals. Like they not that I'm surprised by that, but I think that when we think of the ancient higher races, as they would refer to themselves, like Nerubians and Karaji and Klaxi, it's easy to think of them as like savage and brutal and like incomprehensible, and like they must be evil and malicious or something. But that's not true. That's not true. It's not what they're like. They're honestly, they're very much like mortals, except they just aren't flesh like we are. They're not the same kind anyway. It's like, wow, the Klaxi telling us your gods are not our gods and warning us that we'd best be on their side with them should they return was cool as fuck. That was pretty cool. But then we kill all of them, so. Yeah, then we kill all of them.
So you're still going to need outside threats. Just the Horde v Alliance expansion isn't going to cut it. I feel like it. I also feel like the next BlizzCon, where a WoW dev even Chris Mason steps up and says, boys, Horde versus Alliance, you'll physically hear boos from the crowd. Like, people would just be like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again. I feel like if you're gonna bring back the Horde v Alliance, bring it back quietly. Do it, but do it quietly. Don't announce it. It brings back too much memories and too many memories of bad expansions. Don't announce shit. Just bring it back quietly. Let's go.
If I play World of Warcraft, I kind of just make the base assumption that it's all gonna be connected.
Right, the war is back.
I feel like the Alliance and Hordes are always just gonna be. I did finish Warcraft 3, but I haven't played the Frozen Throne yet. I have to play the DLCs.
That's fine. For me personally, I feel like if you want to focus on the longevity of World of Warcraft, it's time for us to start zooming out. Now, some of you that's been around on this channel for a long time already know this. There are some of you that's brand new here, so I'll quickly explain. Steve Denuser was once asked, I believe this was during Battle for Azeroth.
DF Knolls are so good.
They were asked, is the cosmological map that we see in the Chronicles, is that all of the cosmological forces? The question was supposed to ask...
I can answer that question. The answer is no. Nope. Because I think new cosmological forces can come to exist when you blend other cosmological forces together.
Supposed to ask, is there more cosmic forces in our galaxy that we are unaware of? Is that the correct layout of the cosmic forces, or what are we missing? And Steve Denuser's answer was, it is important to understand that the cosmic map that we see in the Chronicles is a small part of something much larger. So you can zoom out from there. And there's a whole bunch of shit happening outside of the cosmological map that we see that we don't deal with because it's not part of the immediate cosmic map. And that creates a shit ton of new potential storylines, new potential enemies. Maybe learning about the first ones. Maybe meeting the first ones for the first time. Maybe learning about battles that is going on for control of the galaxy that is so much larger and so much greater than ourselves. All of these things are absolute possibilities, no? And personally, I think if you do it well, you could do it phenomenal, right? It could be really, really fun. My experience with World of Warcraft expansions is I get fewer answers than what I get questions. And all I mean by that is they'll give me a lot of answers, but then every single one of those answers creates like 4 more fucking questions. Especially when Chris Mason was in charge, like during Legion. When Chris Mason was in charge, every single patch, I would say the same thing to my audience. It feels like I'm just constantly left with more fucking questions.
Yep.
Because I get answers to some of my questions, but then those answers create a bunch of new questions. And we're just going deeper and deeper down this fucking rabbit hole.
And the same thing happened with the final cinematic. Taryn Gregory, I believe it was, said that they intended, or they had a feeling that the cinematic would generate more questions than what it would answer. And I've always remembered that, thinking like, the cinematic of Sargeras being revealed is meant to really make you think about things. It's going to have a bunch of questions that you're not really going to have answers to, more so than it does answering questions. So anyway,
to figure out where does
that's a video from Accolonn there.
Go. So I'm so excited for the next expansion, but also we have 3 World Soul sagas to get through.
Oh, that's a speculation video, not beta spoilers. Probably both.
Are we gonna be left with?
Whatever. I'm not that worried about it.